Before I built my first computer for high school in 2020, I had 3 consoles, courtesy of my parents of course. A 3DS, a Wii U, and a Nintendo Switch. The latter, of course, I still use from time to time, but the first time I ever got a gift card for it in 2019, I had a choice in terms of what I could get off of that newfangled, at the time, limited eShop. You know, before they let literally anything on there.
Nintendo eShop is constantly updated with new games for every type of player. If you already have a Nintendo...
I can either choose between Undertale, a game I was oh so very familiar with. I mean, you know, who wouldn't be? I was 13 on the internet, of course I knew Undertale. The characters, the story, the music. I could have experienced it all myself for the first time that day. But my other potential option was a game that I actually didn't know that well. In fact, I only knew about this game because of a YouTuber I watched at the time, Failboat. He only ever made 2 videos on the game, one when the game was released, and another when the game got its first major update. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, I could either choose between a game that I knew had an impact on thousands of people, that I knew the story of, and that I knew that I would have a life-changing experience playing. Or I could play Celeste. That was 5 years ago. And I can now confidently say that I made what I consider to be one of the most important choices of my life. Warning. This video contains light spoilers for the main story of Celeste, as well as its themes, mechanics, and gameplay. Furthermore, this is less of an analytical piece of the game, and more of an explanation of my experience with it. So what is Celeste even? Others would say, oh, that's such a hard question to answer. No, it's not. You're lying. Be better. Celeste is a 2D platformer about a girl named Madeline, or, in my case... Bella, who climbs a mountain out of impulse and on the way finds out about herself through sheer willpower. All the time, she's figuratively and physically challenged by the mountain with every attempt to climb further, but nonetheless, she continues. Sisyphus type shit, one must imagine Madeline happy. The gameplay itself is astounding. There's not much I can say that hasn't already been said. So to reiterate what several of the people have said, Madeline controls smooth as butter, her movement alone is responsive, the dash mechanic is always great to control, the platforming itself is forgiving despite it not seeming as such at certain times. And most importantly, the mechanics found throughout the game are simple and always challenging the player to view areas with new abilities in mind. I think Video Game Donkey... Bear with me on this. I think Video Game Donkey... No, I see you click... Give me a second. Please. I think Video Game Donkey put it best when he said,
the design is less about pixel-perfect precision and more about using your moveset in a smart, creative way.
What wise words from the dunk. Let's see what else he has to say about video games.
Where everything about it is
okay, let's not look at that. No, not that one either, not that one either. Who's picking these clips? Now, I'm willing to admit that my reading comprehension was a bit shit, and thus I was only really able to take the gameplay at face value. But honestly, I don't mind. The game itself was really enjoyable. The precision platforming, the charm of the characters found throughout, and the story overall makes it a wonder to play. Now, as someone who played the game and finished it in 2 days, because in hindsight it's not a long game to complete if you're awesome and cool and based like me, I really had fun. But only on the surface level. I was 13, not really going through anything, and I think I only vaguely really understood what a large majority of the game's themes meant to illustrate, but the game itself was nice to play for a while and put down. And then I never came back to it. Okay, no, let's not. You see the red bar, you know what's coming. I really like the gameplay loop here. I still do. Celeste bases itself off of constant trial and error, and it does so to really good merit. A common praise that this game gets on its design is that its punishments always feel deserved rather than shit of bull. Like, I think everyone has a game where you make a mistake one time, and it's like, oh, okay, that's not how you do the section. But a lot of the time, if you make the same mistake again and again, you'll be like, this part of the game is dog shit, and should not exist, and this game sucks, and I am suck. No. No. Making the same mistake over and over again in Celeste always feels like it's the fault of the player, and it plays on this through constantly pushing people to innovate and experiment with the way they play the game, especially with the new mechanics. Okay, let's look at this for example. In Chapter 4, you're introduced to these little block doohickeys that you don't really know what they do upon first finding them. I mean, obviously, how could you? So you decide to go ahead and make contact with one by standing on top of it, probably, and you realize, oh, contact equals movement. Cool. However, if you go up like I did, you'll realize that the shiny area is the direction you actually need to go, and I can't really make it up there without the use of the block. In the meantime, let's explore the surrounding area, see if maybe the game is lying or some shit, or if there's any strawberries to see if we could find. If you go to the right, we'll go to a similar room where we can't really progress unless we have the blocks move in some way, shape, or form. And lo and behold, holding directional inputs perpendicular to the direction that the block is moving actually allow the block to be somewhat controlled. Knowing this, now you can apply that knowledge that you just taken to that block that you found in the first place and use it to swerve around that blockage that is preventing you from going up to the shiny little door, and you can progress. Again, no tutorial. I figured this shit out. It's the player's fault, but it's also the player's reasoning that gets people past anything that goes on. It's really good. Granted, I think this is kind of a weird example because it's not really well explained, but that doesn't change the fact that it's still something that I got to figure out and experiment with in regards to the game's already pre-established abilities. And I think that's awesome. Now keep in mind, when I played this, I was a sponge, and thus I did not comprehend how my feeble little gamer brain was being rewired. I am still a sponge, of course, but I am enlightened now. I'm a higher sponge. Jokes aside, this is a game that is always one-upping itself over and over and over, in gameplay obviously, and in terms of theme, but we'll get to that on a more personal note later. And of course, this gameplay loop would only continue for a limited amount of time, pre-order now. One could only really enjoy themselves with the same levels for so long, and it's a very good thing that this game has a comically fucked up amount of post-game content that is I think this is longer than most people are gonna take more time playing the post game than the main game because of how fucked it is. Like if the main game is Super Mario World on easy, like the post game is Mario Kaizo. I mean, what the fuck? Of course, even that gets boring. But here's the thing: there is specific art, a specific way of playing a game. It's very popular, but it tends to be something that's only really done when everything about a game is exhausting. You can beat the game, but then you can speedrun the game. For those of you who don't know, Celeste, developed in 2018 by Maddy Makes Games, a wonderful lady, she's really cool, is infamous in the speedrunning community as one of the hardest games to master when it comes to beating. There's so much tech that I could honestly make my own video regarding it, and even the developer has stated it that none of it was, like, directly unintentional. It really is a marvel of game design when you look at the game as a whole with just how many possible skips there are in this game, almost as if the developer saw the potential in beating the game as fast as they could and said, I'm putting my entire fucking essence of being to make sure that this game's speedrunning experience is fucked up. Like, okay, for example, these little spots in Chapter 6, right? They skip huge sections of overall portions with the room they're in. It's game-changing if you can pull this shit off. That's no exaggeration. Speedrunning Celeste is something genuinely special. Like, there's no feeling like hitting jumps with such precision that you feel like you are on crack. But not crack. Adderall. It got to the point where the secret level literally had techniques that Maddy Thorson went on record to say, yeah, I didn't know these were, like, things that people were doing. But then when I did find out, I figured, fuck it. You can go through the hitbox, I guess. I would speedrun this shit religiously, and to this day, my record is still a little under an hour. About 56 minutes, and I actually don't think I have proof of that anymore. Kinda wish I did. But for a while, I didn't actually play after I went through my speedrunning phase of the game. Celeste became that game that I would always come back to every so often, but never sink any time into. It was around this time that I also got my first computer, as previously mentioned. And even though I ended up also buying the game on Steam, I never really had another phase where I would just play. I mean, I beat Farewell, and that was it, really. For about half a year, I never touched it. Around this time, I also got super depressed. This was around 2021, between my freshman and sophomore years of high school. I felt like shit. I think COVID fucked up everybody's perception of what secondary should have been like, and we kind of just went into shell shock. At least, I did. But the thing is, I didn't really do anything throughout the summer, just because I didn't fucking know how. I remember sitting at my desk only ever feeling good when I was on Discord and in a certain someone's server, and then digging into myself whenever I could, and I just wallow. For a lack of a better word, I was lost. And then, on a whim, I decided to take my Switch and boot up the game again. I don't know why I did. I guess I just wanted to speedrun it, but I don't think that was the case. I remember this being in June or July when I booted up the game just to play. I wasn't speedrunning. I guess I just wanted to play for the sake of playing and have my own time with a game as simple as Celeste, but there was one particular story portion that I got to. And it got to me as well. In the beginning of Chapter 6, directly beginning after the events of Chapter 5, which was basically a psychological funhouse of trauma for the two characters who were climbing the mountain, Theo and Maddy, they discuss the whole experience and have a cutscene dedicated to them just talking. Eventually, the conversation escalates to the two of them bonding over their reasons for climbing the mountain, and it leads to personal life discussion, which I really resonate with. I still do, and I did then. Now, I know a lot of people have had big realizations from this game in a particular way, so a big disclaimer is that I am not trans. A smaller but equally important disclaimer is that if you are trans, you are really cool, and awesome, and cool, and valid, and cool. Maddy Thorson actually went on a blog post explaining how she realized she was writing the story from a closeted trans perspective at the time, but still realized the impact the game had on others in different ways. And I bring this up because I realize now that I was in that statistical group. This one scene of Madeline and Theo just talking, actually getting somewhere, genuinely really resonated with me to the point where I saw the scene and just felt this huge, overwhelming catharsis because of the outcome. You know, I feel like I should be a little embarrassed that I'm here saying that it was a game that introduced me to the idea of talking about your problems instead of my friends or a TV show or like my family. But honestly, fuck that, because it validates video games as a medium so damn hard. Because it was a game that got me thinking that maybe talking to people was the genuine answer. Not because they'd have an answer, but because they'd have the empathy to listen through their own similar experiences. And sure enough, me and someone I thought I could go to, and I could, we just talked. And every day, I'm thankful that I did so, because that just snowballed into what I believe to be one of the best group of friends that I could have possibly ever asked for. I think my only hope for this video is that it's seen by them, as they're basically the reason I'm still here, and they're the people who made me who I am today, and I don't think I'd be here without them. Again, I think it's frankly goofy as shit that a platformer got me to feel this way, but honestly, it is the case. And I can't fight that. If I hadn't made that decision to go against Toby Fox in 2019, I'm sorry, Dad, then I honestly wouldn't be the person I am today. Because what a truly special game it is that I decided to play. A long time ago, I wrote a Steam review that I've actually delisted because it's basically just a shorter and shitter version of this script that I used for a long time. But I'm okay with that, because now that I've fledged it out, my thoughts have more reach and I can hopefully convince more people to play the game that changed me on a fundamental level. Not the way most people were, but, like, still. I'll leave this on a TLDR. Celeste, developed and published by Extremely OK Games at the time, Maddy Makes Games, is perhaps one of the best, if not most important, 2D platformers ever made. Not only has it literally changed the industry in regards to its gameplay standard, literally being presented as a doomed game of the year, Balatro, I'm so sorry you had to go up against non-indies, but also being a major turning point and aspiration to a lot of stories in gaming told after the fact. There are very few examples of a game's themes being so well implemented into the story and gameplay as well as Celeste in recent years. This game is truly special to me and to a lot of people, and words could never even begin to describe just how much they've impacted me, or anyone else. If I could meet Maddy Thorson, I would love to say that I'd like a new game that's like Celeste. I'd say that I'd adore to see her create a game with the same mindset so that something similar can be created. But I also understand that the mindset in which the game was created was incredibly unhealthy, as things were discovered during the process of creation that were literally life-altering and very taxing. So I will not wish anyone to revert to that. Rather, I will wish for them to keep on discovering new things, both about games and also about personal experiences in general. Because, in essence, that was what made Celeste, and it's what'll continue to make amazing things. I wish for different things to be experienced through game development, such that the struggles and their overcoming are seen in the game itself, as they are here. I want these devs to be given the opportunity to pour their heart and soul into these projects that they see as personal, as Extremely OK Games have been doing for the past half a decade. Maddy Thorson stated in that same blog post that because of what she was going through when she made the game, she didn't want another Celeste, and that's fine. Because if I'm being honest, I don't either. I want a game made not particularly from new or familiar hands, but from hands that have seen wear and tear, and that can confidently say I've made it, because it's thanks to this game that I can do exactly that. I can look back and say that I've made it.
Hey everybody, I finally got the video done. I am so tired. This was my second ever Big Boy video essay, so I hope to be able to create more in the future. Again, I still have a bunch of scripts, but this one has been sitting in my docs and in my Google Drive for a bit, so I'm glad I can finally do something with it. Thank you to everybody who sat through 17 minutes of me talking about a game that literally changed my life. Oh, thank you so much to Tio for allowing me to use his speedrun footage. I genuinely appreciate it a lot because my footage is doo-doo feces. There's no better word for it. Thank you so much to Lena Rain for creating the song that is now known as the Minecraft speedrunner completion song. Trend started by Jay Schlatt. Video also inspired by Jay Schlatt. Like, I'm not trying to be vague about it. The Tribute 2 series is very much a Jay Schlatt thing. But yeah, thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you to everybody, and the special thanks. We'll see you